everyone, so today I am bringing you some reviews of some of the books that I have read in August. As I've read a lot in August, I've decided to split this up into two videos. So let's get into the reviews. The first book that I read this month was Ali Smith's The Accidental. This was mentioned in my TBR as one of the books that I wanted to read, but I didn't think I was going to keep on my shelves. And I was right. I'm glad I got through this. This is a really interesting story in that it deals with this family who's on vacation and they all have their own issues. And this woman kind of shows up on their door and they're not entirely sure who she's connected to within the family, and she ends up staying with them for quite a long time. And it turns out she's actually not connected with any of them, but she does change the way that they view themselves and kind of run their lives, and it's very interesting. I can't say that this is my favorite Ali Smith. I much preferred How to Be Both and Girl Meets Boy or Boy Meets Girl, whichever the other one, her myth retelling is. And I'm glad I read it. I am very glad I bought it used, but it was okay. It was a so-so read. Next up is one I enjoyed much more, and that is Karen Russell's St. Lucy's Home for Girls Raised by Wolves. This is a collection of short stories. I've had this on my shelf for ages, and I decided I either needed to read it this month or I was going to get rid of it unread because it's been sitting there for that long. And I actually read it. I did it over a series of nights. I kind of read a couple short stories every night. And I really enjoyed this. It's got a weird breadth of stories, and like with most short story collections, some definitely were stronger than others. I really liked the title story, so St. Lucy's Home for Girls Raised by Wolves. I thought that was fantastic. The Swamplandia story, which is kind of the same, what is it called actually? Ava Wrestles the Alligator. Quite good, as well as Hunting Olivia were some of my standout favorites. I think this was like a solid 2 or 3 star read for me, so it was good, but it's not something that I need to keep on my shelf, so I'm also getting rid of that. Next up is the Hardy that I read, and that is the Trumpet Major. This was a somewhat disappointing read for a Hardy. Like A Pair of Blue Eyes and Desperate Remedies, this was just so-so. Like it wasn't a fantastic Hardy. I'm actually not keeping this book just because it was only okay, and I know Hardy can do better. And weirdly enough, this has really pronounceable names. This tells the story of Anne Garland, and she is kind of torn between a couple different lovers, and it's very Hardy-esque, but it felt like we were retreading standard ground. Like, it felt very much like Far From the Madding Crowd and Woodlanders to me. There were a lot of elements of both novels that it felt a bit stale for Hardy, to be entirely honest. It wasn't a bad book. Certainly if you're reading your way through Hardy's bibliography, there are worse Hardy novels than this, but it was okay. Interestingly, this is the only Hardy novel that is a historical novel, and it's kind of interesting because I felt the same way I did about Dickens' historical novel, in that it was just so-so. So yeah, I think Hardy and Dickens should not do historical novels. Interesting experiment though. The next one I have is The Edible Woman by Margaret Atwood, and I actually DNF'd this book. Yeah, I don't often not finish books, but I'm moving and I got over 100 pages and I just didn't care. I tried really hard. I've heard really good things about this, but I just found it dull. It was boring. There was not much to the story, and I understand it gets better later on, but after 100 pages, I expect a book to have given me something. I should feel something for the characters. I shouldn't feel like it's a chore to read a book, so I DNF this. I think I got 113 pages, so I gave it a fair chance, but this is not a Margaret Atwood book that I'm particularly fond of. And then the last book that I'm going to talk about in this video is Richard Llewellyn's How Green Was My Valley. This was my BookTube Recommends from Mercedes, and I think this might be my last BookTube Recommends book. I have enjoyed doing it, but it's felt a bit like a chore to read some of the novels, and I'm really happy with the people who selected things and all the books. It's really interesting. It's really great to get outside of my comfort zone, but it has felt like, a task to check off every month to get my book done, and I'm not loving that, so this might be the last one that I read. I haven't fully decided yet, but this was disappointing for me. I'm sorry, Mercedes, I know this is one of your favorite books, but it yeah, I can't say I love this. This deals with a small mining community in the south of Wales. I found the dialogue really stilted. I know it mimicked the Welsh way of speaking, or at least that's what I'm assuming, but just some of the way that the dialogue was presented, I was like, oh my god, this is such a headache. I almost gave up on this book a couple times. I almost just DNF'd it, but I persevered and I finished it. And it does have some merit. It's a 2-star read. It's not a 1-star read for me, but it was so-so. But this tells the story of Hugh Morgan and his family and their dealings with the mine and the mining community and kind of the prejudices, and it was okay. I can't say I love this book, so yeah, I don't have too much to say about it. It wasn't bad, but it was aggravating to read. I found the dialogue just really annoying. Yeah, just that was it. So yeah, so those are some of the books that I read in August, and I will see you guys in another video. Bye!